Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the rationalinvestor.com's Weekend Frivolity, our broiler chicken show. As I just let's make sure. Oh, looks like we're live on YouTube, so that's good. As Nerd Master just posted there in the YouTube page, and I think we did a. I can never remember the name of that thing. But anyway, we've been doing a bunch of public stuff recently, and I think Bitcoinist, if I'm not mistaken, they were putting out announcements about a raffle that we're having up here shortly. I'll show you that YouTube page. So super stoked about this Bitcoinist, and I was actually quite pleased, quite surprised. He actually came along and did a review of us, and I was quite pleased, quite pleasantly surprised at the write-up that the person who runs the Bitcoinist, but I'm not quite sure what I did with that. I thought it would have shown here. But please understand, everybody, that I'm just here trying my best. I'm just another guy in the market. Yeah, it was really cool to see this. I started to watch Brian's videos on YouTube, really enjoyed them, so I decided to subscribe. Says Bitcoinist Norbert Radoki. I hope I'm not butchering your name, sir. I apologize if I am. I should probably get that correct. Daily updates are really fantastic. It's fun to watch every day because Brian's not only a good trader. Well, thanks. I mean, like, I just try my best, try and follow my plan, try and trade setups, try and obey risk management, and teacher, but an excellent showman. I totally appreciate that comment. That's so cool. Again, I try to make this as lighthearted as possible. And educational as possible, lots of content for people, no guarantees. I'm just another guy in the marketplace. I've been doing this for close to forever. So over the years, I have picked up some pointers, some things that can try and help you manage sort of anxiety with regard to risking your money in the your hard-earned money in the marketplace. But I will say, I'll be the first to absolutely say that it's not like you're going to come to Brian all of a sudden, every single trade's going to be a winner. Because, I mean, hey, you're never going to find that in life. It sucks, but it just is the way it goes. And if anything, what I actually do, which I think is probably the most valuable, is try and help people deal with when they're wrong. And how to make sure that if and when you're wrong, and you will be wrong, I am always wrong. Well, not always. That's probably not the best way to say it, but I am wrong a lot. How do you handle yourself when you are wrong? So, as you can see, actually you can't, but we just wound up our current level 1 program. So, usually I spend like a big part of this free show on Sundays just dovetailing what the level 1ers were working on this past week, just to try and answer any questions. And your feedback is greatly appreciated. I did see somebody in the level 1 recently said that I'm totally brand new to trading, and I needed actually some schooling on just how to get set up on these charting sites. And my apologies for anybody who was feeling that way. We do, to a certain degree, already sort of assume that you already are up and running on charting sites like TradingView and Coinigy and stuff. But, that was good feedback, and we might even create like a sort of an intro video just to walk you through getting set up on these charting site. So that was excellent feedback. Thank you very much. Somebody had sent me some feedback, sent the team some feedback overnight with regard to that. And honestly, I guess I never even thought about it, to be honest with you. I never even thought that was going to be an issue, but nonetheless. So that was some feedback I got this past week. We'll try and go through the Twitter feed, as you can see that I have on the site. And really, on the video on the screen right now. Really, that's sort of like what I really wanted to focus this free offering on, was not only to help the current level oneers and give YouTubers sort of an idea of, what the level oneers go through. And then, of course, any level 2 or level 3ers, if you have questions, I can always answer those. But then also too, to walk through the Twitter feed and just try and explain anything that I've tweeted out, so that you can just look at it and go, okay, now I think I understand what he's talking about. So as you can see, that past week, and it was heavy on talking to the level oneers, because they were just getting ready for their exam. And congratulations, guys, on making it through the program. So interestingly enough, and I'm actually planning on going vacation for the first week of May or so, somewhere in that neighborhood. So I'm kind of like just winding up the current automated level 2 program people. And once they're done, then I'm going to go on vacation for a bit. Because frankly speaking, I've been doing this for like 3 or 4 years straight with really no vacation. Even the trip to Europe last year, it was pretty much a working trip. So going to do a little downtime for Brian, because I think it's a bit overdue. So I don't know whether we talked in detail about the Twitter feed from when we last did a Broilers Chicken show. Like I said last week, I do know that I spent primarily most of it just talking to the level oneers. So we can just sort of quickly go through this as quick as Brian can. And my apologies. I know a lot of people say I talk too much, but I'll just try and keep this as short and succinct as possible. Because I can't remember, when was the last time we did one of these. Let's see, 14th to 7th. So if we drill all the way back to the 7th. And of course, this was when the market was going up. Oh yeah, I remember all around the Fed event and all that. Okay, I don't know whether there's anything in particular here that I needed to address. 7th, 8th. We're almost there, coming up. Here we go. Okay, so yeah, I guess coming out of this episode, looking at these, really good example of just a trader's life, market oscillating around the $5,000 mark. I really love to talk a bit about big fat round numbers in the marketplace, and I find it interesting how the major media doesn't really concentrate on it. But I've found in my career, markets love to not only use big fat round numbers as magnets, but also once they've hit them, they like to oscillate around them. And I still, to a certain degree, think that that's exactly what's going on right now. This is a really interesting commentary on sort of a trader's life. Used to be a guy I used to trade crude oil with who would hit the 61.8 level religiously. So he would be short from this 51.33 area. Brian, trading his automated bot setup, would be long from 51.30. So basically we're long. I'm long, he's short, and we're just sitting there basically just a standoff. And that used to happen all the time. And really, interestingly enough, I think actually if we get to today's conversation and what the market's doing today, I think you are going to see exactly the same thing. So it's actually kind of ironic that this is from 2 or 3 weeks ago, and yet today's image, I think I can show you. I don't think we have it on that one. I think it's over here somewhere. Where the hell do I have that now, I wonder? This might take me a second to find it. And I probably should have all this stuff all done before I start these up, but I haven't, so my apologies. Well, I suppose we can just do one up here. We'll look at Phoenix. So you can see lots and lots of, actually that was back from when I did those conversations previously. But if we just draw a nice little, actually, and this is an interesting one because the bot levels have come in so high here. But if we go off, I say that low, just that range there. Then we apply the bot setup. Did we correct 33%? Yes, we did. Did we go beyond 66? No, we didn't. So that means it's alive. And we project those levels. I'm just going to eyeball this and go trade. And gee whiz, there is the bot level. And yeah, this kind of concerns me that the bot level's so high here. I would have much preferred that it come in off of somewhere in this area. So having it way up here is a little bit almost, like vertigo. But if we draw now a fib going from these lows back up to this high, and apply our reload zones, gee whiz, there's good old Mountain Man. So it's ironic how, and this used to happen literally daily in the crude pits, where range traders are going to hit this level every day of the week. Poink. And you can see how they were even underwater here, underwater now, coming back into sort of acceptable. And good old Brian and his Bitcoin icon would be long from here. And it would just be, all right, who's going to win? Do we go and break the top? If that's the case, Mountain Man gets stopped out. If we crap out and start to lose these lows, then Mountain Man's laughing and Brian gets stopped out. And man, you just see this constantly through my trading career. So interesting levels and interesting conversation. How ironic that, basically this is an image from a couple weeks ago and it's the same damn conversation. It's quite remarkable, really. Right, so that played out. Still thinking, and this is what sort of has me puzzled right now, is that the 50-period exponential moving average, which is very similar to the 30-period simple moving average. You can see how it acted as a massive brick wall here and just stopped the bull in its tracks. And you can even see now, if we pull up that chart, I think that's over here somewhere. Nope, not that one. There we are. We're still fighting at that 50-period EMA. Now, I put out a tweet, and we'll probably see it later on, that I was really worried that instead of, like, this is what we call railroad tracks, where you go straight up, and, like, this is the kind of stuff where if you're watching on YouTube and you're like, I want to take some information out of this, without having to pay monthly subscriptions, just free information, take a screenshot. I mean, this is a very powerful two-bar formation, what's called railroad tracks. Straight up, beep, finishes, opens up, comes straight down. Pretty bearish sign if we lose these lows. So take a screenshot of that. What did I learn today? Railroad tracks at 50-period EMAs on a weekly chart often are fantastic reversal signals right there. Merry Christmas. And you can see, and this is what I was worried about, right? This is, it's a weekly chart. So that's about a month and a half. And the irony of it all is that Bitcoin loves to dump into my birthday. So actually, here's my birthday from that year, that May, and you can see how a rejection off of that level and dump right into my birthday. So we're a little bit off sort of course here a little bit this year. But I got a sneaky suspicion that we're going to dump into my birthday again. But, I put out a tweet last week. My big worry right now is that we go an empire here. So it's actually encouraging that we haven't just totally pooped the bed and collapsed here. But at the same time, too, we don't really have any bullish resolution out of this. And as Philip's pointing out in the lounge right now, this is also a very powerful signal unto itself. This one candle right here is what's called a doji. And, usually what ends up happening, with these empire fractals is the market has a big up, then dojis, and then craps out. And basically the doji is exhaustion. So you can see we've got a big rally up, big fat round number, psychological level, 5,000, 50-period EMA. This is not the time to be going like balls to the walls long here, right? That was down in here. Right now, we're just sort of like, oh, geez, do we get trend continuation? Can we work our way higher? Or are we going to fractal out here? And the jury is still out. And I've often seen when I record these these videos early on Sunday. I go out and have a nice afternoon with my son because Sundays basically belong to Liam. So I'll finish this video, I'll hop in the car, and I'll spend the afternoon with Liam. And then I'll come back later on and the damn candle is like turned red, and it's like, oh, fuck me. So, just because we're sitting here at like this right now, that doesn't mean that we can't get a failure here by the end of Sunday. Sundays are always interesting days in crypto. But as it stands right now, ironically enough, the irony of all of this is that basically this week has basically been a hurry up and do nothing week. If we can get a break above the fractals high, then this might actually turn into what's called like a midpoint consolidation. And you can kind of see it here where you go sort of like take the bottom of this range, and you can see how we dojied here and then accepted higher and blasted higher. You could argue that doji was a midpoint of a range. So if this doji is a midpoint consolidation point, then ironically enough, if we can resolve bullishly, well, that's actually painting like up here. Maybe I go off the lows, be conservative. We'll say like there, right? Which would just be a nice classic AB equals CD. And that's sort of what I've been sort of suggesting recently, that if bots and bullish setups do fire through this consolidation, that we got a pretty good chance of jumping back up into 6,000, which makes a lot of sense because you actually look at like where, I often tell people, here's another great piece of information for you YouTubers. I often tell people that when we break out of a range and you're asking, okay, where is this market likely to go? Let's see, anybody in the lounge, you guys should know this answer, all you veterans. 2 words, both words start with an L. Anyone? Maybe you YouTubers know the answer to this. Meow. No, it's not meow. No, nobody? Ay, caramba. All right. Well, this gets back to like, what was the question? Oh, you weren't even listening. All right, fine. If we break out of a range and you're wondering where's this market likely to go, what should we do? Hey, very good, Carrot Master. I don't even know if I know you, Carrot Master, but way to go. Got it right. You should look left. And interestingly enough, if this is a midpoint consolidation and we're going to jump up here, and we're running up here, and you look left, where was the last time we actually saw sellers overwhelm buyers and actually stop up moves? And that's that high right there. And isn't that, so you can see consolidation. Okay, we're going to push higher. We're going to put, no, we're not. Down we go. So, and interesting how that midpoint consolidation, if we resolve higher, it's just going to take us right up into that last area where the sellers actually overwhelmed buyers. Isn't that cool? I mean, damn, I love that kind of stuff. So there you go, YouTubers. Railroad tracks, dojis, midpoint consolidations. If we can accept above here, where should you be looking as a target? Look left. There's 3 things that you guys all, that's free information. There you go. Merry Christmas. So, and really that's why I do all this shit, is I'm not trying to bilk people out of money. I'm just trying to help and trying to teach people. So anyway, enough of the self-pity shit. Okay, moving on. I was actually, I was really worried because I still think that this is a really good proxy in the altcoin space. And actually, I saw somebody on the site today say, no, actually, it wasn't on the site. It was a crypto Twitter OGer, right? Somebody posted I thought this was hilarious, and it's not me who said this. It's not. Oh yeah, and hey, Bugger, nice to see you, Bugger. I hope your algo's going well for you. So as Bugger says, smash that like button, hit that subscribe button, ring that bell, all that kind of fun stuff. Thank you, Bugger, for reminding me, because I'm terrible at remembering that stuff. But somebody posted in the lounge, and I thought this was great. I mean, it's not great, but it's such a great commentary on this space. It's so schizophrenic. We go from rip roaring insane bull to rip roaring insane bear. Everything's going to zero in like a heartbeat. It drives you nuts. But welcome to capitalism. Welcome to venture cap. And I should probably just take a moment and talk a little bit. Keep in mind, I played this penny stock market for like decades. There's no difference here. I mean, at the bottom of the penny stock market, a lot of the names that, on the bulletin board and pink sheets and Vancouver Stock Exchange and stuff, a lot of those names would disappear at the bottom of the bull. It happens. And they just go right off the board and poof, disappeared. So what we're actually seeing with like Bitterix delistings and stuff like that. I know, for you new people to the speculation business, this must be extremely painful and it must be extremely frustrating. It must be extremely aggravating. But I got to say, there's actually nothing really new going on here. This is so typical. Now, one thing that we've sort of talked about on the site quite a bit lately is this really harkens back to why I call myself, quote unquote, the rational investor. And theoretically, what rational investing is, and I even did it in that Bitcoinist interview, was we want to find fundamentally justifiable ideas and then apply some technical analysis to help us time those purchases. So it's this kind of market that your fundamental analysis has really got to shine. And you really have to go through the process and ask yourself, what is a fundamentally good idea in this space? Of course, this is it's a hallmark of our level 1 education program. And we've had site alumni, Da Vinci in particular, who helped us create fundamental analysis screening modules. So something along these lines, now, this happens to be in our library and it's part of our education program. If you're watching on YouTube and you're like, whoa, fundamental analysis in crypto, what's that? Just grab a screenshot of this. I mean, Dav doesn't mind. And if I'm not mistaken, I think, and somebody even posted in the lounge this morning, yeah. So Dav's got also, I think he did this as a free service on YouTube and stuff. Altcoin fundamental analysis and trading. And look at all the people that are on this document now. Along with that, Dav's also got a nice little video that I think he sort of walks through. Looks 20,000 views. So, and there's good old Dav. You can even, when you look at his face, right, you can even hear his laugh. I love his laugh. It's so awesome. So, take advantage of these resources, right? I'll even go and post that on the YouTube page. Dav gives us lots of shout outs of how we've helped him. I'll be more than happy to give him shout outs. Great work, Dav. So the point being that it's this kind of market that's absolutely, you have to take your fundamental analysis to the next level. And on the site right now, of course, we've got lots of humming and hawing going on about good old Bitterix. I think it's Bitterix. And coins that are just listed on Bitterix and what happens when they go through their delisting shenanigans. And if anything, if you want to build a screener that says, I will not buy a coin that is only listed on Bitterix, I think that's actually not a bad idea whatsoever. I think that's an excellent idea. Now, those people that did buy those coins that are unlisted on Trex, if you are just like, fuck it, I've had enough of this nonsense, I'm blowing all this out, I don't want to play this game anymore, great. Go for it. Do it. Clean yourself up. Always play from a position of strength when it comes to speculating in the market. Always, 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 always. And if this is too much of a stress for you and it's too anxiety filled, then my advice is just simply put yourself back into that position of strength and operate where you can operate nice and comfortably and relaxed. And if this is too much of a stress when it comes to playing this altcoin game, totally fine by me. I have no problem with that whatsoever. What I would suggest, and I've sort of said this on the site repeatedly, is try not to make decisions based purely out of emotion. When you get emotional, you often make really poor decisions. And actually, there was one that just popped up on I think it was Cryptopia came back, and it was delisted. And I was so pleased to see this morning. I just have to find the darn page. Where do I put it? It's over here somewhere. It's one of these. One of these pages is not like the other. Give me a second. Yeah, I guess it's over here. I was actually really pleased to see that people that were like, okay, yeah, the coin got booted off of Trex, but I'm just going to go find some other place to put it. I still like the name. And I was so pleased to see that people actually got doubles off on this clams that's over on Cryptopia. Let's see if this, look at that. I mean, nice little rally that popped up out of nowhere here. So way to go, Joshua. I know he got some nice trades off there. But it just goes to show, try not to make decisions based on emotion in this space. If you have come to a reasoned decision, there's one gentleman on the site that's just like, I've had enough of this nonsense with Trex. If it's just listed on Trex, I'm not even taking the chance of the delisting. I'm just going to walk away. And that's totally fine. It's your plan. At the end of the day, it has to speak to you. So, I won't say anything anymore on that. I just thought it was really fascinating that Clammy here is sort of rising from the ashes here over on Cryptopia. And for those people that can move coins, you do have alternatives. Now, back to our story. I thought it was interesting. Somebody that I highly respect on Twitter and in the cryptoverse, and you just take it for whatever it's worth. Okay, everybody's entitled to their own opinion. I thought it was hilarious. This guy put out the future of Binance is spelled YOBIT, which I thought was hilarious. So. Interestingly enough, though, and this not so fast guy, he doesn't pull any punches. He doesn't sugarcoat anything. But all of these exchanges happen to have sort of inertial moments behind them. I remember when Cryptopia was all the rage. I remember when Polo was all the rage. I remember when, hell, Jesus, I even remember back when people were trading on MintPal. Oh, geez, that was a nightmare. So these exchanges come and go. I do believe that Binance right now is sort of the exchange du jour that people like, and so as a result, I mean, I still can't figure out what the value of one of these Binance coins is. I just don't know what it is, but I really do like to use this as a nice little proxy for sort of the sentiment in this space, and this really worried me immensely. Now, the good part about it is that it slowly cleaned itself up. It found a bit of a base, and it turned around, and it was able to rally to new highs. So that's good. But I got to tell you, when I see a chart like that causes concern for me. I do understand that they have a big fundamental event that's happening here shortly. Where they are, if I'm not mistaken, they're moving from being an ERC20 token to actually being their own chain. I'm probably getting the terminology and stuff wrong, but it was encouraging to see, when we pull up that chart that, as I said, they moved it to new highs, which was encouraging. I saw a couple of the other Yobit names also move up nicely there. Where the hell do I have that one? It's on here somewhere. Nope. I seem to remember it was right up in here. We are. Here it is. So, thank heavens, this thing totally didn't crap out. I totally thought that there was going to be a trade location set up here, but again, I'm not even quite sure how you short this stuff. It is interesting, and we were pointing out this on the I think it was the Friday show on the site, We actually did get, and speaking of which, this is another plug for DAV. We did get really nice DAVO bullish signals coming through this consolidation, and it actually painted some buy signals up through this level here. So congratulations to anybody who was able to ride that rally. Way to go. The issue that I would have here, though, is you can see, and I don't know whether OBV broke out. We didn't get a new volume impetus signal here. It was some nice buying, but it didn't break these old highs. But it is interesting to see like something off of like an RSI. This is a nasty divergence that's still in place. You would have, if you were like a rip-roaring bull here, where you really would have liked to have seen this just blast off through the top and take out these highs. Really nice little DAVO, as you can see here. DAVO signals come in when we get a W in volume momentum indicators and a W in price momentum indicators, and I happen to have the RSI on here. So hopefully you can see the nice DAVO signal, and I think it produced a pretty nice looking trade there. And thank heavens for the space. You know, this thing didn't just totally crap out and dump. But at the same time too, and as I've said this repeatedly, I can't invest in a name like this. Trade, sure, not bad. And nice little short-term momentum signal. But we're still in awfully nosebleedy territory up here. We'll see how it goes. Only time will tell. But encouraging nonetheless that Binance was able to skirt that sort of potential sort of falling off a cliff here. So, where are we here? Where's that Twitter feed go? Over here. So we never did get the dump, and it was able to consolidate a little bit, and then you got your short-term trade setup signals there if you were so interested in trading. We'll keep a close eye on Mr. Binance, as I still think he's a really good sort of proxy for sentiment in the space. Through the week, and I even said that I was going to comment on this, really good working example of ranging markets. And here is the reload short zone, 61.8 up to 78.6. I'm actually on the site. I'm working a crude oil day trading model that just simply hunts for candle body clothesline levels for trade location at or above reload zones. Here's a really, really great working example. Can you imagine having the balls to step up and actually short that level on this move here? You would have been like, oh my God, this is crazy. But nonetheless, you can see how those guys who took that short, actually it worked out quite nicely for them. And then we were, conjecturing, all right, well, they do the same thing on the bottom side against these candle body lows. And I think that, unfortunately, they didn't. They ran the lows, and I don't think she looked back. Let's see where we are. Over here somewhere. Yeah, here was that chart. So this was that chart. And if we zoom in, I mean, this is and keep in mind, there's a lot of professionals in the stock market that do nothing more than just simply fade rallies, right? That's what you call shorting into that rally, fade rallies, and then buy the tests of bottoms of ranges. In this particular case, we had two AB equals CDs, the teal one, which was a smaller one, and the red one, which is a bigger one. We're painting this harmonic window down here. So I was a little leery about like calling the market's going to turn on these candle body lows with these AB equals CDs working. And isn't that cool how the market basically came down right into that harmonic window and then started going through its Wing process. So really, really good example where in this particular case, and we could have done AB, CDs off of here to paint objectives up top. We had gone beyond those objectives, so hunting those shorts, not a bad idea. In this case, the AB equals CD objectives had it lower than these candle body lows, so you might want to just wait for those AB equals CDs to finish themselves before you start hunting a trade. So long and short of it here is Just a really, really good anecdote of a range trade short setup there. Just beautiful. All right, let's keep moving this train forward. Boom. All right. I was thinking, and I still do believe, that there is a high correlation with crypto speculation in the market and broader market speculation through things like stocks. I do believe that they are both, to a certain degree, risk on assets. So if the Fed had come out and said, yep, we're going to take the punch bowl away, get ready, we're going to start raising interest rates again, we want to cool things down, then we probably should be watching for a pivot back down in crypto. And interesting, the Fed did come out with their Fed minutes and sort of said, yeah, we're probably going to be raising interest rates again down the road, not lowering them. And interestingly enough, crypto did pop higher on the close of that day. And then that was a trap, which we'll see later on, and then started to head back down. Love to see the PMA in our society. That's great stuff. Just makes me so happy. From what I understand, there was a conference here in Vancouver. I didn't actually get out to it, but there was a crypto conference, and Jesse Couch, a guy that is a local guy that I really like to converse with in the crypto space. He said he went to the convention and he heard a lot of really good things about Geo. So this is a good example, I think, of a name where you could do some fundamental research, and I like this story. And I just simply said, at the coming out of the convention, the prices were being bid up. I can't chase. So what do I have to do? I have to draw my reload zones, which tells me where I can be a buyer. And so after this event, I actually threw some bids in here against these lows, and I got some fills recently. So I did actually buy a bit more of this, and I really like the fundamental story on this Geo. All right, so Fed minutes were coming out shortly thereafter, still waiting. Right, there's that crazy 50 period exponential moving average. What the hell's the market going to do? Somebody was asking me about what I thought about the prospects of another quantitative easing round. And me personally, I believe that quantitative easing was nothing more than how do we get all these bad bonds that Goldman Sachs and Merrill Lynch and Bank of America shilled to the public through that last financial asset crisis. How do we, and of course the Chinese bought them, hook, line, and sinker. And I believe that after the house of cards fell in on itself, the Chinese said, look, you either take these bad bonds off our hands or we're just going to dump them into the marketplace, which would have driven the US dollar into the ground. So I don't know whether there's going to be another quantitative easing, to be perfectly honest with you. I think that's all history. And it's kind of like the 9/11 attacks where, for the next year or two following 9/11, everybody talked about the next terrorist attack. And it just never came. And I got a funny feeling that quantitative easing might be the same. And, if the global economy goes into recession, ironically enough, the Americans are actually in the best position right now. And because they have raised their interest rates up to about 2.5% now, they actually have a lot of room to lower interest rates to try and help the economy. So I don't know whether you're actually going to see another quantitative easing. That's just my 2 cents. We'll see what happens. But that's this was a response specifically to somebody who asked me if I think that there's going to be another QE. The energy market is. I used to be a commodities broker, and the sales pitch that we used to have in commodities broker land, if you were like, say, January, February, looking to sell a product to the market, you trade the seasonality trade in energy and specifically in unleaded gasoline, and it's remarkable how well that trade has worked this year. Quite remarkable. More range conversation. Yeah, there's that. What does a range look like? And such a great commentary on how the pros are going to short against the top end of the ranges and they're just going to let the market drift back down. And I think this trade, for those guys that did short up top there, I think this trade's actually still working. All right. Somebody I think asked me a question. So anyway. Yeah, so this was heading right into the Fed minutes. A little bit later after that last post, there's that big fat round number. There's Mountain Man sweating his pants, and probably he would have been stopped out on his short. There's Brian in his bot. Just need to hit this 54, 56 area, and then the bot can start moving stops to scratch. And it's fascinating because you'll see in a few minutes the market popped up to this level on the basically right at the end of the day that the Fed announced put out their minutes, and then it just crapped out and it stopped this thing out. And I think I even later on said, well, bot people are on the sidelines twiddling their thumbs now. Somebody was asking on the site recently, I don't see you doing a lot of setups. I am trading the stock market pretty aggressively right now. I'll be honest with you, I'm not trading crypto that hard right now because I still think we're in crypto chop Vegas mode. So I do have whatever assets I have in crypto, I'm sort of recycling them. If I bang out doubles, then that goes back into Bitcoin. And then whatever the Bitcoin balance is in the account, I just go and continue to nibble and just the circle of life over and over and over. But I'm not really committing any new money to crypto right now. But I am doing lots of stuff in the stock market. And here was a fun little trade that we did in the options bits. Hopefully everybody can see at or below reload zones, candle body lows, W's coming in. This happened to be an options trade that I did. That's working pretty nicely. And I see Sjord's in the lounge there. I don't know whether he's on the call or not, but Sjord's still waiting on his bid to join me on this trade. He never got filled. Poor guy. All right, so there's the Fed minutes announcement. We're still going to shit on you. It was interesting that on that event, the market popped up. There is that 54.45 area on this particular chart. So at this point, had you taken the bot, you better move your stop to scratch, and now you're sitting in a pretty comfortable position. If it comes back down, you just walk away at scratch, next bus in 10 minutes. And I even said, but love it when Mountain fails and bot wins. And somewhere a gnarly crude trader is shaking his fist at me. Now, this is a really good commentary on watching the spreads of futures, and in this case, because it's Bitcoin forwards. But it was actually interesting for the level twos that just did this module. We actually did up a chart on Bitcoin futures, and you can see the M's coming in. It's actually a really cool comparison to see the very slow-moving futures markets and these very fast forwards markets. But basically, they had the same sort of message. When you see W's, things are feeling pretty good. Let's not M out here, guys. That would be bad. Yes, technically we are in contango here, but if we M out, then maybe that means the market has to come back down and test that sort of parity level again. And I think we can show you just sort of what happened there. Question is, where the hell do I have that chart? There somewhere. Over here. Not there, not there. And then we get off into Altland, so it must be back. Yeah, here it is. All right, so really good lesson for everybody here. YouTubers, let's see, is anybody on YouTube? Remember, that was that tweet that I put out. The tweet was, oh, geez, the last thing in the world we want to see, right? I said, probably the best tell for price going forward. Don't M out here, please. Go the bulls, all right? So what did we do? We M'd out. Ah, crap. We M'd out. Ah, crap. We M'd out. 3 M's, triple M's. Ah, crap. Isn't that cool? That works. I mean, it's pretty damn cool. So this is like a nice leading tell that, hey, you better cool your jets in crypto land. Something's not right here. And unfortunately, you can see just even today, right? Litecoin is just coming off, and it's now actually it has confirmed another bigger ram, and now it's slipping and potentially losing parity here. So really, really great tool to sort of have in your back pocket to tell you sort of what the tone of the market, the trade is. And I got to say, after we emmed out there, my enthusiasm for the space started to wane dramatically, which sucks. Can't be a bull every day, I suppose. Right, where's our feed? Moving on. Yeah, so even posted here. Breakout was pretty sloppy. Yes, we did jump up there, but it was after the market had closed. The regular stock market, the volume breakout wasn't impressive. We didn't have volumes like this at all. We didn't even get volumes in this area. That was the volume on the breakout. Very suspicious. And then following the breakout bar, we actually started to put in higher selling bars, higher down bars, that red bar that you see there. And in essence, at this point here, remember I just said there's that 54.45. We hit that. Probably the wise thing to do for traders is move your stop to scratch. And if we take out these lows, just walk away. And that's the one thing I really like about this Twitter feed is that I actually like to do sort of a play-by-play as the setups go. I have no clue whether they're going to work or not. I'm a trader. I play statistics. Anybody who's telling you this absolutely will happen, they're full of horse shit. You just don't know. So shortly thereafter, even on the same day, you can see I put out a tweet. All right, it's official. This cowboy's back on the sidelines. Why? Because that's move stop to scratch level was hit, and you probably should just walk away. That's the hardest thing about trading, is actually just being completely unemotional about this. Through this, you're like, all right, this Bitcoin's going to pay off my mortgage. I'm going to, pay off all my student debts. I'm going to pay off my credit cards. I'm going to be living on Easy Street. And then the market comes back and goes, no, I don't think so. And as a trader, you just got to live with that. It sucks. Don't get me wrong. This is a trader's life. I don't know whether a lot of you are actually even going to be able to make it being a trader. Yeah, I did at the very beginning, Julian. Julian's over there on the YouTube page talking about the Bitcoinist. I did talk a little bit about that right here. So in essence, when we get to the top of the feed at the very end of it, but I'll make reference to it again. We're doing a promotional raffle with this Bitcoinist. They did a really nice interview. We did a great interview with them on what I consider to be sort of what it's going to take to actually survive at this game. And trust me, it ain't easy. It's really easy in rip-roaring bull markets. Oh, everybody's a bull. Everybody's going to make money. Just go and buy the market. When we go through these, cleanup phases in the market, this is when we find out whether people really want to be traders or not. I don't think it's this link, but we should, and I don't know whether I have it. This is just a promotion for that. But we've got the, I think probably further down. When I get to it, Julian, I'll post all that stuff out. Okay, so where were we? Okay, so bots got stopped. Bad commentary. Don't like to see this. You look at the market was racing up here. Move stops to trailing. Big M's coming in the market. I got a funny feeling anybody who had taken this trade, probably best to hop off there. Move your stop up to trailing, move your stop, 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 stopped. And of course, anytime we see the market smiling at us, that's never a good sign. And ironically enough, it came on exactly the date that Mr. Vitalik is now a superstar rapper. And that's never a good sign. But hey, I guess my joke was I guess the market must have liked it. The market was smiling. But that's being facetious. Um Shitty. Okay, so and like I said, this is what I really love about this Twitter feed is basically as these events happen, I just spit them out. And just as I said just a moment ago, really good forward leading indicator following these forwards. Clearly, they weren't happy. Something wasn't right there. And, the market, of course, we know that price came off since then. This is what I feel really badly for a lot of the new people to investing. I don't know how long Hashim Loves You has been in the crypto space. I hope you do well. I hope you survive. But what I basically said to people is, the best answer I can possibly give you about sort of altcoin outperformance versus underperformance is, do we see letters of the alphabet? Try and remember the two magic letters that we have to acknowledge in trading are W's. Hopefully you can see down, up, down, breakout, down, up, down, breakout, down, up, down, breakout. Didn't really do it too much here. I guess you could go down, up, down, breakout. Tried to M out here, but broke out to the upside. Lots of sort of uppy action. As long as you keep seeing W's, that's a good sign. Higher highs and higher lows defines a bull market. When we start seeing M's, that's when things get troublesome. And what I'm worried about here was when this person asked me, what do you think about alts going forward? I started seeing like lower highs, 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 lower highs. This one without the big coins in it didn't necessarily M out as prettily, if you will, as these bigger coin indexes did. But my general feeling was, this is what we call like a sloppy M, but nonetheless, making lower lows, breaking the middle parts of these, not a good sign. So we might as well go take a look and see what that looks like now. So whoever asked that question, what letters of the alphabet? And, you can see more Emmy, more Emmy, more Emmy, more Emmy, more Emmy, more Emmy. And then, oh boy, more Emmy, more Emmy. So, you can build a little matrix like this to try and help you understand who's sort of driving the bus. Is it the altcoins? Is it the big coins? Interestingly enough, Bitcoin itself hasn't started to M out here. So that's encouraging, right? Like I said, maybe we're in that midpoint consolidation. I don't know. But with regard to alts, it really doesn't surprise me that we've seen a bit of backing up lately. These M's didn't really look so good. Let's see, actually, and this is actually a good also tell is the Bitcoin dominance. And I suppose you could argue, WE, Bitcoin's outperforming. As soon as we start Ming out, altcoins are outperforming. Bitcoin starts Wing, outperforming. We were conjecturing on the site on Friday, and we had a little bit of a bear div come in on RSI, but you can see that was broken. You could argue MACD. Now we're starting to get some really bigger potential divergences forming here. But the long and short of it, and thank you very much, Alex B, for posting this. You can see the dominance move to new highs, which is sort of yet another anecdote that Bitcoin's outperforming the altcoins right now. And then, of course, Trex comes along with their games. That's not going to help the altcoin market. It's going to inject a lot of fear, a lot of uncertainty, a lot of doubt, that FUD. And is that going to have people more interested in putting their money into shalt coins and more speculative part of the market, or is it going to temper their enthusiasm? And unfortunately, it seems to me that enthusiasm is definitely being tempered for the altcoins right now. All right, so let's keep moving this train forward. Where was that? One of these screens, wasn't it? Yeah, this one. All right. So bullish setups basically taken off the table. If I was going to be, thinking what sort of my anticipation, I think I even also said that I was going to sort of watch that through the weekend and comment about the Broiler Chicken show. But last week, unfortunately, I'm sorry, everybody, I got wrapped up with the level oneers. I didn't talk about this, but it turns out that Litecoin did basically validate that AB equals CD pattern quite nicely. And remember, I had said, off of that hourly chart, there were guys that were hunting shorts against these highs. You might have been hunting longs against these candle body lows, but in the face of that AB equals CD, maybe you ought to just cool your jets and let that play itself out before we start getting too aggressive on the long side. More commentary about how 50 EMA sort of acted as resistance. There was a point there, especially coming out of those Fed minutes, where it looked like we were ready to rock and roll. And, the bot had you hunting longs and getting long, and that failed. The bot just walked away at scratch, and now we're back in the poop. And as I showed you just a few minutes ago, we're still stuck in the poop. So, all right, so this is a follow-up. Indeed, A, B, C, D, those levels were hit. And like we said, when we looked at that chart a few minutes ago, it started Wing out here and it enjoyed a little bit of a counter trend rally. Not too much, though. All right, here's that article that I was talking about. I tweeted it out. And there's good old Brian 10 years ago when he actually had some hair still on his head. I won't show you a picture now. I actually, when we were sent the questions ahead of time, and I just sat down, and it was actually a really easy interview to do because I just spoke from my heart. And I answered the questions as truthfully as I thought, and I hope it helped. Good to see I didn't piss anybody off through that offering, and most people seem to have enjoyed that article. Unfortunately, this is the kind of article that it's not like I'm going to tell you, all right, you want to get rich, do this. Because it doesn't really work that way when it comes to trading. You got to build a plan. The plan has to reflect who you are. You are very different than me. So I can tell you absolutely without a shadow of a doubt, your trading plan is not going to look like my trading plan. And if it's one thing that I don't like when I see, sort of the Twitterverse and all that, is people just basically want to be told, okay, tell me when to buy and tell me when to sell. I'll subscribe to your newsletter. And as long as you're right, I'll just keep subscribing to your newsletter. And I've told you countless times that you're never going to be right 100% of the time. So these newsletters write their newsletter, they're wrong, and then all of a sudden the fucking world shits on them. But this article was really more about, how do professionals sort of act in the marketplace? Build your plan. Your plan has to reflect who you are. What do you want to get out of trading? Where are you going in your life? How is trading going to fit into your life? All that kind of stuff. Then you want to sort of figure out setups. And it's really a good idea to have 3 unrelated reasons whenever you're considering taking a trade, and then just simply following those same reasons over and over and over and tracking whether you actually do follow those very specific reasons for acting. And of course, that also includes exact points when you're going to enter, risk levels where you're going to admit that you're wrong and talk about, think about preserving capital. And then, of course, if you are right, how are you going to act to make sure that you get paid? And it was interesting because, even people, which I find really amusing, because when you sort of start out with the I'm going to speculate in the stock market, a lot of people, they almost laugh when you mention the term astrology. And yet the irony of it all is some of the best traders in the world actually used astrology to help them time their purchases and sales. I'm not here to say that astrology works or it doesn't. That's not my job. But if you do want to include astrological signals in your trading, then how do we incorporate those astrological signals in your setups? That's what I'm here to try and help you do. And they sort of, kind of tongue in cheek, is trading like astrology? Is astrology kind of silly? As I said, a guy named W.D. Gann, he did very, very well using astrological signals. So, some people it works really well. Um, Ironically enough, you could actually make the argument that getting your signals from astrological events or getting your signals from squiggly lines on a chart is really, there's not a heck of a lot of difference. The only difference is, and it's not even really a difference, it's a similarity, is, if those signals are right more than 2-3 times out of 3, and when you are right you get paid a substantial amount of money, well, hey, I'm going to start subscribing to your newsletter. But make no mistake about it, you will still have to record losers. It's just the way a trader's life goes. And I think I even finished right here. How you get your reasons is entirely up to the individual. Being professional and acting when you see those reasons, that's what separates the amateurs from the professionals. It's really that simple, guys. But as I said, a really good, sort of very candid interview that I did with Bitcoinist. And it's not going to be one of these, oh my God, this guy just gave the secret and now I'm going to go make $1 million. Well, I did technically give you the secret, but it's a good starting point, right? A very candid, very real look at what a trader's life is all about. And actually, I really enjoyed answering the questions that they have. And I get the impression that it was well received. As Julian had mentioned, Julian's been working very closely with the Bitcoinist people. And sort of as a marketing idea, we haven't done a raffle for these level 1 courses in a while. But as a sort of marketing idea, we were like, Julian and Bitcoinist were like, well, why don't we raffle off a seat for the upcoming level 1 program? What I thought was so cool was Bitcoinist said, all right, well, you got to follow Bitcoinist. You have to follow Brian. You have to retweet. You have to subscribe. And I love this, right? Because these are people who know how to market, right? And they know how the game is played. I'm terrible at this stuff. So, hats off to you, Bitcoinist. And thank you very much, Julian, for working very diligently with them. I think this has been relatively well received. And the irony of it all, like the actual comments that I made, is I know for certain that people, when they took this course originally, when I only charged like $500 for it, they said, Brian, you could easily sell this for like $5,000 easily. We've sort of scaled back the amount of one-on-one work that we do with students. But I still think, I mean, Colleen is here. Colleen, do you think you got good value for your money spent when you took that level 1 course? I think and she says totally, for whatever it's worth. So I think it's a fabulous price point for this kind of information. It can literally change your world. And actually, even on our website, right, on the homepage, we did, when I was in Europe, and I lost like half the damn video, which kind of sucks. But I did some of the interviews that I was able to save. I did interviews with people all over Europe. These guys happen to be in UK. And repeatedly, these guys, there's Alex B. I was just making reference to him earlier. There's San, one of our OGs. Repeatedly, these people just said over and over again, this was Frank in Germany. These guys were all, these are our Dutch contingent in Breda. And there's Fjord, our awesome site programmer. But repeatedly, over and over and over and over again, I kept hearing the term life-changing. I mean, I got to say, for $1,200 US to actually hear people say that I've changed their lives, that speaks volumes, man. Now, the good part about this, I mean, $1,200, still $1,200, still $1,200. So I totally respect that. So here's your opportunity. Join the raffle, and maybe you can get in on winning the raffle. And we actually had a gentleman back in like 2015, I think, win the raffle, and he's still on the site. He ended up taking all 3 levels of the program, and he's still on the site. He was the raffle winner, David, from back when we used to do him with Coinigy, and he still uses the site to today. So, I mean, I think we resonated well with him. So good luck on the raffle. Everybody participate. Follow Bitcoinist, subscribe to CR Investor on Twitter and on the YouTube page. Retweet, join the mailing list, all that kind of stuff. The announcement for the raffle winner will be May 10th. And maybe Julian will do some sort of big live event for that, which would be kind of cool. So just an update on that. Okay, let's, where the hell, geez, God, we got a lot of stuff still to cover here, so I'll just keep moving forward here. Okay, so that was all on that interview, and I really had a lot of fun. It was a really good interview to do. And there we're talking about the raffle, so get in there and win that raffle. We're heading into earnings season, and the question ultimately here, since we didn't see the yield curve invert, so it doesn't look like the economy's heading into recession. The real question that I think I'm hearing out of analysts on Wall Street is, do we head into an earnings recession? So that's sort of what that tweet's all about. What is the sort of prospects for earnings going forward? That's what we're really watching in the stock market right now. So that Jesse Couch, remember I was talking about that GeoCoin again. I really like to use this Twitter feed as just sort of, did Brian actually do what he said he was going to do? How did the setups evolve? What happened? Did he take the trade? Didn't he? So I said I was going to bid off that 78.6 to add to the trade, and I did. So, I put my money where my mouth is. There's no doubt about that. I like this DJ Thistle guy. I think he's very, very intelligent. Lots of followers. Again, one of these sort of crypto Twitter guys. He's just going to give you the straight goods. Thought there was some interesting sort of fundamental arguments why he made about Bitcoin going back to 1,000. It almost seems like that might be a little difficult at this point. So, by all means, I really like that not so fast guy, this DJ Thistle guy, very, very intelligent person. I had mentioned this in the video last week, so I won't go into too much detail about this, but I finally threw in the towel on that new bits. I used it as one of our stable coins to park Bitcoin when it was Bitcoin went up top. And this story eventually died. Boo, hiss, hiss, boo. It happens. Welcome to capitalism. I would never take this kind of risk on any one particular name. The only reason why I had as much in it as I did was because I said this theoretically was a stable coin, and it's just such a great testament. There's no such thing as a stable coin in this space. And I went down with the ship on that one. Boo, hiss, hiss, boo. But I was actually kind of good. Like I said, full disclosure, again, I just am a straight book. I don't bullshit. I'm just another trader in the marketplace with you guys. I take my hits just like everybody else. And it was actually a pretty cathartic, and in a weird sort of way, you could argue this is very much like journal entering for me. When I have to go out into the public and I have to publicly admit that I was wrong and that I took a punch in the nose, ironically enough, after that event, I actually felt a lot better. And I'm really not carrying any subconscious weight about this. Traders got to trade. You're going to win some. You're going to lose some. In this case, it was a loser. Way to go. I do a lot of work on the site with sector rotation, seasonality. This is advanced course material. I used to run when I was a broker, used to run a service called the First 2 Weeks, which basically measures what happens in the stock market first couple of weeks of each quarter to get an idea where the fund managers that get a big whack of money every beginning of every quarter to put in the market, what they think the market is and where are we on the economic cycle. I won't go into too much detail about this, but in essence, this was last quarter's report. This, I think, if I'm not mistaken, was the entire quarter. So what actually happened. and this was the first 2 weeks. Basically, first 2 weeks, the fund managers were piling money into real estate, and that actually turned out to be the biggest performer. And it's interesting because now it looks like this is now this quarter's report. It looks to me like the fund managers have lost all interest in investing in real estate, and they're more concentrated now on things like consumer discretionary, technology, communication services, all that kind of area. So that's the area of the market that I'm actually looking for outperformance this quarter. So real estate was over here, suggesting that we were in sort of like early recession, bear market, working our way through full recession. Now it's interesting how the Fed, because keep in mind, like a month ago, the Fed was basically put back in the box. When they come out with their Fed minutes, they were like, well, maybe we're going to start raising rates again. All of a sudden, money started pouring back into the financials. So I don't know whether that's a function of the Fed sort of humming and hawing about whether they're going to be raising interest rates again. But I would say that on balance, I'm thinking that the market is leaning towards this part of the cycle, which would put us sort of right here. It's kind of a cool report to follow each quarter, and it works generally pretty well, right? We were thinking we were somewhere out here, maybe even the beginnings of here, but primarily over here. And I think that basically was where we were. And then, of course, you see the entire quarter, money was definitely pouring into here on balance, suggesting that, yep, that's where the market thinks we are in this cycle. Interesting that the public is starting to get interested in Bitcoin again, which unfortunately sometimes isn't a good sign, but we'll see how that goes. Something that I don't think we're actually talking too much about in the cryptoverse and the space is actually Japan is technically on like a massive holiday right now. So we don't know how much of the price action in the stock market and the price action in crypto is believable right now while the Japanese are still away. And what's interesting is like Easter was a really odd holiday this year. But you can see that basically this long break goes all the way from basically the end of April right through to the beginning of May. This is going to be very choppy period in the marketplace. So I'll probably be talking a little bit more about this as we get closer and closer to this event, but I got a funny feeling, like we have seen things like flash crashes and stuff in stock markets in March, April periods around the Japanese fiscal year end in the past. So don't be surprised if through this funny week where the Japanese just aren't around, that we actually see some funny shenanigans in the stock market and really probably crypto too. I think I commented about this in last week's video. Really interesting interview with Mr. BitMEX. Didn't really talk too much about, buy this, sell that kind of idea. But very candid interview. I liked watching it. I thought it was very, very candid, very true. Everybody needs to understand, for whatever it's worth, that yes, I am an industry veteran. Yes, I am a trader. My number one job is I'm a dad. I am a father to a child with severe autism. And my biggest hurdle in my life and what's causing me a lot of anxiety right now, and unfortunately it means that I can't do as much trading as I'd like because I am so anxiety filled, is all around my son. And also too, this should be a good lesson for any, aspiring traders out there, that your personal life and things that are going on in your personal life will be reflected in your trading. Absolutely guaranteed without a shadow of a doubt. So, if you do have to force yourself to trade through these very tough windows in your life where your family issues might be dominating, at least acknowledge those anxieties are out there and try and build in your plan. Look, I know that I'm super stressed about my personal life and issues that are going on. How can I try and take steps and put things into place, supports in place, that it doesn't get reflected in my trading? And, I happen to be going through a very, very difficult period right now with my son. And so I've just mentally said, look, at back off, don't put on any sort of higher leverage, high risk, high anxiety trades right now. You just can't handle it, Brian. It's too stressful. And you're just going to end up being a really bad role model for all these people. So ironically enough, sometimes there was somebody in the site recently that was like, well, I don't see that many setups. Brian's not taking that many setups. Well, I got to tell you, and I can't remember who the person was specifically, just off the top of my head, but I got to tell you, a big part of the reason why I'm not trading as aggressively as I have in the past is simply because I've got a shit on just a world of shit on my plate right now. And I am going through a very, very difficult time right now with my son. So, I'll put things out on Twitter about autism and about my son. But you have to understand that this is a huge, huge influencer for me, and it will affect your trading. So don't sugarcoat it. If you're going through a tough time, whether it be, girlfriend, wife, kids, mothers, fathers, whatever, at the very least, just acknowledge what's going on. And if it means you have to dial your trading back and your risk taking back while you're in that uncomfortable place, well, that's not a bad idea whatsoever. Somebody was replying to my BitMEX comments and about, them sort of ceasing trading when things are getting overloaded. And I was like, well, you can only get so many trades through a funnel. And if the funnel starts building up, well, is this a commentary on whether, cease trading orders on sites like MEX are good or bad? It isn't. It's just a brutal reality. If you got a million people all trying to get through a turnstile at once, sometimes the whole system can just seize up. Okay, so that takes us basically to 1 week ago. Oh boy, well, we're going to be here a while, but anyway. And in reply to this gentleman here, I said, yeah, well, this does have nothing to do with about liquidations or fees. So this person here was like, yeah, but these liquidations and these fees are ridiculous. And I was like, yeah, well, get used to that. So. As I said, that episode that I did last week was all about the level oneers. And also I commented about that new bits trade. Boo, hiss, boo. This guy, I absolutely love this guy. He's got such a good karmic look on the world. I love listening to him. He's a local guy here in Vancouver. He was also one of the devs in some of the charity coins in years gone by. So if you see me interacting with him, it's just because I really like Aaron. He's a nice guy. I always love it when the OGers print their public following, and I thought this was so cool. He said, I'm just going to publish my list of stock charts that I like to follow on a daily basis. And I got to tell you, this is the first time in a long, long time I've seen anybody make reference to the 13-period exponential moving average. And so when I saw that, I was like, holy shit, there's another person who follows 13 EMA. Because on the site, I often say that I think I'm the only person you're ever going to run into that uses the 13 EMA. And so I was just proven wrong. Go figure. Alicia, there she is. And I got to hand it to you. Both Colleen and Alicia, absolute all-stars for our recent level 1 program. They showed up every single class, every daily brief, every broiler chicken show. I mean, they put the time and effort in. Our most recent module, we end the level 1 course with talking about a conversation about liquidity events. And that's what this tweet was. It says, this was for Alicia. She had a question, how do liquidity events stop the market? And, we had an old site OG, Oscar. I sure hope you're doing okay these days, Oscar. I haven't heard from you in a while. He actually put out a script on TradingView that actually paints these liquidity event windows, exchange opening event windows. And there's a whole bunch of other functions. And Benjamin also did another one that gives, like Gemini auctions and all that kind of stuff. So really cool tools. But just such a really good example of how They often will rally the market into this liquidity window. This is the open of the New York Stock Exchange, basically the start of trading, and this is a trap. And so in essence, they bring the market up into the recent highs. There's those candle body levels that I love to hunt for trade location. There is our reload zone, 61.8 to 78.6. Nice little rally into that window, and then on the other side of it. Great example of a kill zone trap. And if I'm not mistaken, we even put a couple of these out for Alicia, because through this window, they did exactly the same thing. I mean, you literally see this on a daily basis. Really sad to hear about Notre Dame Cathedral burning. This kind of tragic midweek event. I don't know whether it's even my place to comment about this gentleman, but I heard recently that universities were even saying that he never did finish his education program, and technically he's not actually a doctor. So go figure. And if anything, this is a really good analogy of the famous line, and it's why I like to try and stay as humble as possible. All you YouTubers, you want to go, Brian sucks, Brian sucks, Brian sucks, Brian sucks. Okay, fine. Get it out of your system. Brian sucks, done. But there's an old cliche that an old client of mine used to always say: those who the gods wish to destroy first make drunk with power. This guy, you could argue that, he made his bed. He went to war with the crypto universe, and the crypto universe is now shitting on his head. Bad karma, sir. Bad karma. Just be nice. Maybe the world won't shit on you so much. I don't know. I have no idea what's going to happen with this. No idea whatsoever. It's not even my place to comment. All I'm just going to say is over the past few years, I've watched this gentleman, and oh boy, terrible, terrible karma. But anyway, it's the way life goes. More conversations about that 50 EMA SmackDown, and this was the retweet that I put out saying, just don't fucking empire out here. Because if we empire out here, kind of like these railroad tracks, you can see the fractal top that came in here. Usually it means, oh boy, we got some down to go. We haven't yet, so that's good. We're still technically inside this doji candle, as I showed you earlier. So, there's still hope that we can resolve this bullishly and push us up into this resistance level up top here. So we'll see how that goes. So there's my comment to that gentleman. I thought I was the only person in the world that used the 13 EMA. Then I see your charts, and lo and behold, an even more experienced trader uses them. So actually, if anything, this is validation, because this is one of the core moving averages that I use. And probably people are like, you're crazy, Brian. Why would you use 13 EMA? Well, my answer is even more OGer guys in trading world use 13 EMA too. And so thank you, sir. Appreciate that. Wondering whether Mr. Craig Wright is going to actually do a rage quit on crypto. And ironically enough, we haven't gotten that rage quit event yet in crypto, which usually marks the signs of the bottom. Now, in stock market land, it's usually like massive bankruptcies, right? Massive lawsuits, and fucking the lawsuits are flying right, left, and center. I don't know. It is kind of interesting that he is suing everybody for, making fun of him for being Satoshi, but I can't comment on any of that. But it is interesting and you wonder, maybe with the recent altcoin dumps, maybe because he sort of threatened a few months ago that he was just going to drive all these altcoins to zero. Maybe that's what he's doing right now. I have no idea. Always, just PMA kind of thing. I love following these guys, the Dodo. It just is, it's a feel-good kind of thing. So if you see those kind of tweets and stuff from these kind of guys, just because I like PMA kind of stuff. Here's a really good screenshot of this crude oil trading model that I'm running right now. Just paper trading it, but as you can see, I take my paper trading very seriously. Logging, journaling, tracking. And ironically enough, actually, what I'd really like to do is I want to go back to my old prop firm, and I want to get refunded as a crude day trader. So I'm practicing my crude trading models. And this is just it's such a simple model, and yet it works really, really well. And it's just simply hunting candle body clotheslines off the hourly charts, then drilling down to the lower time frames, risking 10 ticks against those tag events. You can see the teal boxes are the horizontal support and resistance lines off of hourly levels. And those are basically trade location. So you can see how they all work through. This was a really interesting commentary in that we had basically 3 out of 4. One loser that got just punched out right away. That was this here. Bang, bang. See you later. Get the fuck out. And, in the face of that, that trade didn't work. Do you lose your cool? Do you lose your focus? Do you lose your, can you still follow your trading plan? And it was interesting, after that stop out, there were 2 plus 37s that came on in quick succession right after. 1 long and 1 short. And not a bad day, I got to say. 4 trades, batting 75% plus 83 ticks. A guy like Nebraska would absolutely love that. And it's also important, too, to keep a track of things like your average winner. Make sure that it's bigger than your average loser. You want to try and make sure that, the number of trades that you've taken isn't too much. You don't want to be working for the broker. And, of course, most importantly, you're doing exactly what you said you were going to do. Not easy. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. But this is it was such an interesting day because it was just a classic range traders market, just back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And this is what sort of a day trader's life looks like in through that back and forth. Crazy day, man. And it was interesting because the next day, nothing. There wasn't a single trade that set up. And that's very typical of sort of a day trader's life, is during the days when, if it's ranging, during the days when the setups come in, you might get like 3 or 4 setups in one day. If you're trading a ranging setup and the market's trending, you might not have a single trade. Here's a really good example of why it's a good idea when Trex decides to just shit the bed. And if it's only listed on Trex, that a lot of the times it's best just to hit the bid and get the fuck out of there. If anything, I absolutely love this about our community. We've got like probably at least a half a dozen or a dozen serious traders who follow this very, very closely. And the moment, I think they even have like notifications on their phones and stuff. And literally the moment that these announcements are made, they're posting notices on the site. We even had a couple more this weekend. And I think I can show you. As soon as the notice came out, just hit the fucking bid, just below the damn position out. Here, right? Literally the notice comes out, just hit the bid, get the hell out of there. In this case, turned out to be like a negligible loss. It's the way it goes. In this case, I actually had to take a 0.3 BTC hit on this guy. I was really disappointed. I really like this data bit story, but as you can see, probably not best to stick around and hum and haw. You can see most of these, right? Soon as that delisting event happens, the notification goes out, I just get the hell out. Just get the hell out. Just get the hell out. In this case, and this is kind of an interesting one, they actually did a delisting notification. I got out. Then they came back and said, no, we're not going to do it. Turns out we're okay. And so I said, okay, fuck it. I'll just go and buy them back if they're not going to get delisted. And it turns out that it's basically sitting right at my buyback point. This might turn into a nice W. And if that's the case, then this might actually work out to be a half decent trade. But I've just found, and it's just me, like some of these, oh my God, it's almost criminal, right? If Trex knew that this thing was going to be delisted, how could they let this pump happen? How could they let that happen? That's got to be, if it's not illegal, it's got to be at least immoral. If anything, what they should probably do is say like, okay, this is our list of assets that are under question over the next 6 months. Fair warning. These things may get delisted. At least some sort of heads up versus we have officially announced we're going to delist this at the end of this date, and the thing just absolutely shits the bed. And I don't even know what the out is for Golos people. Is it traded on another exchange? I don't know. But I guess I just found in years gone by that a lot of the time you're just best just to hit the bid and get the hell out of there. And this new bit's, of course, total train wreck. Disappointing. But you have to understand this is part of this altcoin sort of story. You got to get used to it. And like I said, if you ever played the penny stock market, exchange delistings happen all the time. Little concern for the gold bugs. It is interesting that our one of our site commentators, regular contributor, he's on the Daily Brief 3 days a week. Thomas was actually working shorts in the gold and silver, which of course, probably pisses off all the gold bugs to no end. Hats off to you, Thomas. Consummate professionals, really learned everything that we tried to sort of impart on this education, and I think he's set for life. Really solid trader. But here is sort of that gold and silver commentary. I put out sort of tweets. I think we'll see in a bit. Now we have the market double smiling at us. Oh, that's not good. There is that silver market that Thomas was short. So I still think we got to head down into this sort of 14.5 area. I don't know how deep gold has to go, but notice there's a cheeky little gap. Keep in mind, this gap's at 1224, and you can see the reload zone's 1236 all the way down to 1206. So be careful here, gold bugs. This has got trouble written all over it. And, gold and silver and, crypto to a certain degree. Is crypto today's digital gold? I don't know. Could we see crypto have to come back down to the bottom end of its range too? It wouldn't be shocking. When we actually look at the US dollar index itself, I'm seeing, this thing keeps pressing higher. And now that the Fed's sort of back on the table saying the economy is strong enough for us to consider raising interest rates further, maybe, with the gold market breaking down here and the silver market already broken down, maybe it's sort of portending a little bit about the future. And if we look at things like Bitcoin, gold, there's that US dollar index just pressing higher. You can see the gold market emming out. And here's Bitcoin. Now, I don't know. I mean, maybe Bitcoin and the US dollar are linked now. I don't know. It's a tough one. But we're seeing a little bit of disconnect here between Bitcoin and the gold market. So I'm not quite sure how to interpret this right now. I will say, though, that this US dollar sure looks uppy. That thing looks like it wants higher. All right. So things are looking a little bit tough. And then also add insult to injury. Seasonally, gold and silver do not do very well through May, June. So that's a bit of a concern too for your gold bugs. So be careful here, gold bugs, please. You can even see this is a weekly chart. Do you see how there's a gap? That gap there is even on the weekly charts. I can tell you from 30 years of doing this, gaps on weekly charts do not like to be left open. That's, if anything, that's almost like a magnet going, come to me, fill me, fill me. So we'll see how it goes, but it's going to be a tough slog for the gold bugs. As I'd sort of said to people in the cryptoverse, I actually like to use this Twitter feed. Somebody's messaging me. I can't, if you are watching this and you just message me, I can't answer you right now while I'm recording, but I will answer you when I'm done here. So there's that tweet about the market 2 official smiles at you. That's never a good sign. And it was right off at 38.2 too, which is not good. If anything, great analogy of why we have to wait for 38.2s to resolve themselves. Fantastic lesson in good old Ray Barbecue. And I love our funny expressions. Ray Burchett, if you ever watch this, goes, "You're calling me Ray Barbecue now? What the fuck?" Actually, I was really surprised. Because we on the site we were talking about how the S&Ps were starting to look a little heavy. We have been talking about stock markets, rallying up to the top end of their ranges, and should we start thinking about shorts? but we never did get really a good looking market structure. No M's came in on the stock market. SOX have broken to new highs. So the S&Ps are coming up into their old highs. And I was just wondering, what are some of the sort of fundamental reasons why the market might crap its pants? So I actually haven't heard too much on social media or on the news or anything, any further fallout of this Mueller, but I did hear that he's now the U.S. The Democrats control the U.S. House of Representatives right now, and I think, if I'm not mistaken, he's going to be subpoenaed by the House to have to do a testimony about this report. So if we did see, and keep in mind we have that funny Japanese week coming up, could we see like some sort of flash crash in like stock markets and crypto and stuff around that event? Don't be shocked, guys, because this obviously is going to be sort of a big sort of fear, uncertainty, doubt sort of curveball. Okay, so we talked a little bit about Bitcoinist and the raffle that we're doing. Great job, Bitcoinist, and as I said, I mean, wow, what an endorsement! Thank you very much, Norbert. Totally appreciate that. Got to say, I'm just a guy just trying my best. If you consider me a great showman, awesome. I'll do a little dance for you. I'll sing you a song. No guarantees in anything that I do in the market. And of course, everything that I do in the market should be based off trading plan. And your trading plan is going to look different than my trading plan. Absolutely guaranteed. In fact, I don't, like when we built this site, I specifically said, I do not want robots. Don't come to me here and just say, Brian, I'm just going to sit on your coattails and take whatever trades you take. Well, they're my trades. They're not your trades. And like I'm pretty good at losing money too. So yeah, I can make money and I've done pretty well in the market. Thank you very much. But at the same time too, I will have losers. But if anything, what I really want is I want to teach this community in particular. I really think crypto community needed it. So I did what Jojo asked, and I feel really proud of that. But really what I want to do is I want to be sort of like a behavioral consultant. I want to be an emissary of good behavior. Doesn't mean I'm going to be right 100% of the time. Don't even for a moment think that, because I'm not going to be. I'll even tell you now, I won't be. But at the same time too, I would like to think of myself as a pretty good emissary of good behavior. How should you act in the marketplace? How do you set yourself up for dealing with the anxieties of risking your hard-earned money in the marketplace and knowing that you are going to be wrong? And how do you handle that? That's really where my value comes into the equation, and I really hope I've helped. And I think to a certain degree, I have helped, because I don't see like wrecked kind of conversations on TRI. I see a lot of people get really pissed off at sites like Trex and just say, fuck it, I'm blowing out these goddamn Trex only coins. They're just, I hate the way they're doing this. I totally appreciate that. But I think since I began this site, I had one person in my very first class that I taught actually blow themselves up, and I haven't heard a single person since then. So actually, that's a pretty good testament. I have seen people, as they are going through the education program, make very emotional decisions. And as they finish the education program, they look back and they go, "Oh, gee whiz, yep, that was not such a good decision." And I think they've learned not to make emotional decisions in the market. But at the same time, too, I don't hear that kind of wrecked conversation anymore, which I used to hear all the time when I first came into this space. People basically would just bet the farm, and you just can't do that, right? Okay, moving on. I got a really interesting gift this Easter. I've been working away on this little. Yeah, well, Geo is, and Nate makes a perfectly good point. Geo looks cool, but I think it's a Trex only coin. Could definitely be. I know that they're very closely tied with Ubik, and I noticed that Ubik has gone very, very quiet recently. I think they might actually be susceptible to that sort of Trex only sort of cornering. So, by all means, excellent point that you make there, Nate. And if you at the end of this video go, well, he just said that maybe if I'm feeling a bit skittish, I shouldn't consider coins that are only listed on Trex. And so as a result, I'm going to let that geo idea pass. Awesome. Perfect. But, you just got to live with that decision. I have no problem with that whatsoever, Nate. And I think that's absolutely top notch. And we do have a few people on the site that are like, Brian, there's no fucking way I'm going to touch that thing. I totally respect that. Totally, totally, totally. Okay, so I see Nate made a point there on YouTube, and I think that's a really good. So Jonathan Mayer says, I'm making mistakes investing in cryptos. How much time and money must I commit for rational investors? Well, I mean, right there, investors operate off of things like daily, weekly, even monthly time frames. Trading, quote unquote, and investing, quote unquote, are very different conversations. So if you are, and then of course, what type of risk taker are you? I suppose, any asset really. And this is a question that was asked by Jonathan Mayer, so I'm just going to try and speak to this. You could make an argument that, hey, I'm trading this little, what is this? Basic attention token. And I am going to buy this W, and I am going to look for a 2-to-1 risk reward, because I want to make sure that if I'm right, I actually get paid for my hard-earned time, right? So something like that. You could, nothing wrong with this trade whatsoever, right? You could nanny nibble this and just say, you know what, I'm going to throw like 1%, 2% of my portfolio at this and just see what happens. Now, if you're going to trade this thing, then if we break these lows, you better get the hell out of there. This would obviously be off a much higher time frame. I don't know whether I would consider this trade. What I would say is you can see that big W, but also too, hopefully what you can see is that this is basically top end of a range and this is the bottom end of the range. There's no reason why the trader, now this is going to take much more time and much more effort, is going to be looking at this range and saying, well, is there any way I can sneak in, because this range is so massive? Is there any way I can try and sneak in off the bottom end of this range, right? And this is where things like reload zones really help out a lot. So maybe down in this area, I'm going to really focus in. And, that same W sort of principle, hopefully you can see, and if we change this to a line chart, you probably see it a lot better, right? Down, up, down, breakout. Now the trader might say, all right, I will buy the breakout of that W and I will risk to the bottom of that W. You could nanny nibble this really, really small portion of your portfolio. There's nothing wrong with that. But hopefully you can see the very different sort of nature of these two. An investor might just buy this breakout here, say I'm going to risk to the bottom of this. And they might even, you might take, I don't know, like half an hour a day and just review. And you can even set price alerts, right? Like on TradingView, I could set a price alert here. And as an investor, I'm going to buy this massive W. I'm going to risk to the bottom end of this range. You might not do anything for 6 months. Just you do absolutely nothing. Just watch this thing work away. And your target is like way up here. The trader might be, if we go 2 to 1, so where's 2 to 1? 2 to 1s, geez, this trader guy is probably leaving a lot of money on the table just taking 2 to 1s. But actually, this makes a lot of sense too, because this is basically the trader's trade, right? You look at this and you see this breakout and you go, why on earth did the market rally up to here and then go back and forth and stall here? Well, the answer is there are a lot of traders that have their open orders sitting at 2 to 1, and you don't necessarily need to sell it all. Maybe you sell half of the position, put your stop at scratch on the remaining, and just forget about the rest. And if it ever does come back, throw your alert once this level's hit. Throw your alert on the screen, and now you don't do anything on this position. And, maybe we're sitting right here, sitting right here, sitting right here, sitting right here. Right? You just don't do anything. Maybe it takes 10 minutes, through the day to update that chart. So once you actually have your plan up and running, it actually shouldn't take a lot of work. The key, I think, Jonathan, is you got to get your plan up and running, and just getting educated to the point where you have a trading plan and you're working with the plan and you're feeling really excited about your plan. Then once you're at that point, actually it doesn't take a lot of work. So I hope that helped answer your question. It might be like 20 minutes a day, and hopefully that gives you a perspective between different sort of time frame participants, right? The investor might be following. I mean, look at these beautiful little W's. Look at this one right here, down, up, down, side by side, breakout again in the reload zone, right? There are, more advanced traders that are going to be like, okay, well, I want to see, this range, and I want to see bottoms, and now I'm going to work my bids, kind of like that Geo coin. Now I'm just going to work my bids down in reload zones, right? There's that reload zone of that range, and boom, I get my fill there. I don't know, maybe even got a fill lower. And actually, that makes sense too, right? Because it rallied up, consolidated, broke out, so it came back and it checked this level. That's like what we call a Wyckovian check. It's a really good example, MCO. I mean, geez, this thing is just so textbook. This one here, I think this is MCO. Yeah. Look at this. Great example. There's your W. Here's another W within that bigger W. As an investor, you might have just said, fuck it, I'm just going to buy this, risk against these lows. Takes maybe 20 minutes to put on the trade. And you set your alerts, and you haven't done anything. Obviously, I want you thinking about taking profits, at least partial profits on these spikes. Try and get paid for your hard-earned effort. But here's also a really good example of the market pulls back into a reload zone and gives you another reload opportunity. Rallies up to new highs, pulls back, gives you another reload opportunity. You can just do this over and over and over. But to actually run the plan, once it's actually up and running and you know what you're looking for, it's not a heck of a lot of work. Okay, let's keep moving forward. I kind of got distracted there. Sorry, everybody. Oh, yeah, back to my fund. So I've been working on this Delacour index. This is an algorithm that I started working on probably about 20 years ago. And I could never get the trading view to actually give me consistent results when I changed time frames. The signals would change and all that. And I finally had a eureka moment this weekend. And I was joking on the site that here's this was the most recent, just phenomenal trade setup, just stunning. But at the same time too, you can see this trade setup, even with the algo, sometimes it fails. There's a stop out. The big problem that I had was that if I changed the time frames on these charts, the signals would change. But you notice that, nope, signal has not changed, same. So that was a huge leap forward for myself in building this algo over the weekend. I have a family, and my son and myself. My wife, unfortunately, is not with us, although she is with us every day. Um, so, really, these kind of big holidays are not really that big events for me, but I considered this sort of my Easter gift. Baby Jesus gave me a gift, and that I finally got my algo producing the signals that I wanted to. And I was going to say earlier, like teaching this educational program, one of the modules that we do is on building algos and building scripts. And we have Reza here in the call here today, and Reza and his group have actually taken the next step forward. And we're going to, on the site, promote his education program, which will, once you actually have these signals, will give you the ability to, through sites like 3 Commas and what is it, AutoView, I think is another one that he uses. And I think there's a third other one that he likes using. I can't remember the name of it off the top of my head. But actually teach you how to take signals. And we've, it's so cool about the TRI site and sort of the evolution of TRI is, of course, we teach all these people all this stuff, and they've gone ahead and built scripts and signaling systems, and we've embedded them on the website on our signaling page. Alex B is here in the call. This is his script, and of course, Sen, who you saw earlier in that video that I showed you, that's one of his scripts. And the point here is that these are signals, right? But what do you do once you've got a signal? And the answer, of course, is Riza is going to be offering how many modules is it, Riza? I don't know, I think it's about 5 or 6 modules on this sort of step-by-step 7-week program. This step-by-step process, how you go from, okay, I've got a signal, to, all right, the computer is actually executing the trades. And I'm so excited to be offering this to the public. It's this is that missing link that we've been missing for a while. So I'm so pleased and super stoked about this. Yeah, basically, you teach the computer. Well, I mean, the computer, Riza teaches you. Maybe we should back this up. Riza teaches you how to put all the pieces in place so that you get signals and the computer executes the trades on the signals, which I haven't been able to do yet. And I haven't got to that stage. So I'm probably going to be one of his first students. and as he says, based on the same logic as if you had manually entered the trade. And that's the key here, guys, is that just because we're going to move to more automated trading, that doesn't mean things like setups disappear. That doesn't mean things like trading plans disappear. It will acoustic to rock production studios asks that part of the subscription, that it will be a whole course unto itself on the site. We haven't exactly figured out a price point yet, but to be perfectly honest with you, this is another situation where you could easily go online and pay people $5,000-$10,000 to learn this kind of information. We're going to try and keep the price point relatively palatable. But if we can get to the point where you get automated signals from sites like TRI and the algos and stuff that we built, and the computer automatically executes the orders, and you can just sit there and watch the algo trade away. I thought it was really cool. Yeah, I did, of course, a bunch of back testing on my new model. And where did I put all that out? I don't think I tweeted it out, but I can't remember where it is. But anyway, I did a bunch of back testing on it. I thought it was over here. And produced very palatable results. But that's off of the education model, so I know it's not that. Where the heck did I put that? So many charts. Is it over here? And now you're just seeing my desktop right now, which I know is going to drive everybody crazy. Oh, it's not over there. Anyway, on the site, I posted in the lounge. I did a bunch of back testing. Stuart, do you have a copy of that picture? I know I gave it to you. And I was pretty pleased with what I saw. I think actually it's right here. I have no idea whether this trade's going to work. You can see where the entry was. You can see where the stop is. Live by the sword, die by the sword. But I did a back test on this going back over the past 6 months, I think, and broke down every single trade step by step by step. I think I started it as of the algo first signal that no, actually, I guess the first signal was right here. And actually, that's interesting. So that actually would not have produced a trade there. But anyway, the point that I'm trying to make here is did a bunch of back testing on it. And I was pleased to see generally the results were pretty palatable. And what I noticed was what ended up happening was, yeah, you got stopped out. But the winners, the actual percent, like the win-loss ratio was very, very pleasing. So like on some of these wins, they were like, 3.75 to 1, 3 to 1. Had a couple here were just monster numbers. Here we had a couple 13.8 to 1, 3.8 to 1. And of course, the losers are just 1 to 1, right? Just walk away at your risk level. So anyway, the point that I'm trying to make with regard to this tweet was felt like baby Jesus gave me my Easter gift in the form of finally getting my algo operating the way that I've wanted it to for years. Now, of course, I lost the damn tweets, I guess, over here. So we had an algo signal fire here. And what I really liked about this was the algo signal actually fired on the bot level. I had said earlier I didn't really like the fact that the bot level was so high here, but I'm just going to run the model and see what the results are. So that tweet was just basically all around. I was so pleased that the algo was spitting up signals off of things like bot levels, which to me is sort of like validation. All right, so yeah, did a bit more analysis on all of the coins using the algo, and really interesting results. So I'm going to be personally following this because it's my toy, and it was interesting to see like things like Ethereum when it came into its level. That was actually the end of a bot setup. Let's see, do I have that over here? ETH USD. Might have done it on a different chart. Yeah, it was over here. Boom. Yeah, so here's a good example where the bot issues buy signals, right? And that's off of this consolidation right here, zips up, and it actually rallied right into an upper end of the range. And again, I really like the idea that the algo signal corresponds with bot trade levels. And had you been sort of trading this particular bot, goes sort of like there to there. And this particular one would have fired off of, oops. Let's try that again. Bot trade. There we go, right there. So not bad, right? On this candle, there's the bot level, and boom, 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 right up to the target. Doink. So to try and explain that tweet is just that I've been waiting forever to try and get this DI algo actually working. And it was only because every quarter I have to come back and revisit each module in the school. And it's kind of cool because this particular term we tried to more automate the program. So I had to really, really vet out the slideshows and do the videos like, they're 2-3 hours long each. So it forced me to revisit, of course, the DI again. And every time I do that, I seem to make a little bit more progress, a little bit more progress. So I was really pleased to see that I had it. And yeah, as I said, actually having the algo signals stay the same on every time frame without things changing was such a major pain in the butt to get over. So, okay, and that brings us up to today. Like I said, and as Julian asked, if you are interested in our education program, by all means, participate in the raffle. I think it's a great way to if you can win. Fingers crossed for you. The interesting thing is the statistics are pretty good. There's only about 70 or 80 people in the raffle, so your odds are actually pretty good. And if you win, good luck to everybody who enters. If you win, awesome. We will see you in the May-June program. Okay, so that basically is it. As Colleen had pointed out about 20 minutes ago, we were coming up on 2 hours. So I think we'll leave it at that for today. I hope you enjoyed the offering. I hope you got some value out of something that I said here today. We are now up to date on the Twitter feed, and I think on balance, I've said my piece. So, all right, why don't you guys have yourselves an awesome rest of your day, afternoon, evening, wherever you are in the world. All the best, and a big bye for now.